Bants and Bants. Bants and Bants.
All systems go.
Bants and Bants.
Defiance.
Bants and Bants.
This rebel has a cause.
Bants and Bants.
We begin as wanderers, and we are wanderers still.
Welcome everyone to the 63rd live edition of Bombs and Bants and Wednesday Rants. As always, I'm your dedicated and humble host, John Wilder, coming to you from an undisclosed location hidden deep beneath the surface of the earth. Normally, Mark is with us, but tonight it's just the missus and I. It's Wilder's Gone Wild. How you doing?
Oh, I've been better.
Yeah, so I'd like to explain that although we might seem almighty and nearly immortal broadcasters who really are controlling the earth just through our thoughts alone, the missus is susceptible to viruses. And you have one, don't you?
Absolutely, I do. We've all had it, and I'm hanging on to it like I've adopted it.
Yes, it is influenza A. I believe that should be pronounced in Canadian, eh? It's influenza A.
Eh?
Oh,
But yeah, that's what I just said, yeah.
Take off, you hoser. Or it could be a Hispanic version. It's influenza, eh? One of the two. Who can say? But anyway, the missus has been a little bit under the weather, and I had to twist her arm to have her go tonight. So, dear, thank you for,
I just finished everything up right as I hit the show open button. And
Yeah.
I'm such a trooper. I'm podcasting with a fever. I can't even fake cough. It's going to make me real cough.
This is Dr. Johnny Fever coming at you. Oh, wait. That's you. Well, anyway, we do have stories and things tonight. Maybe not the tremendous and lush production that you're used to, because our broadcast studio was stricken by a virus, and our broadcast studio being, of course, the missus. So you're saying that our first story is not on the call sheet.
I am, but I have it written. I'll handle this one, then you can take over, okay? I didn't have time to print this out for you, so I'll handle it.
Drive on.
All right, so you probably heard the news about the COVID protests in China, right?
Indeed, I have.
That the Chinese citizens are rising up en masse against the tyrannical authoritarianism of their communist government.
Well, it's not that. They're protesting the COVID policies, right?
Right, implemented by their communist government.
Mm-hmm.
And the authoritarianism that comes with communism, which, if you're a communist, that's a feature, not a bug.
But they're rising up against the policies.
That's right, absolutely.
Okay.
They're tired of being welded into their homes. I guess what started all of this that I heard is that there was a apartment complex, and the doors had all been wired shut because there was a lot of COVID in there, and then it caught fire, and the people in there couldn't get out. But you know what? At least they didn't die from COVID.
It could have been that much worse.
I know. God,
that
would have been horrible to die of COVID. Thankfully, they got to burn to death. So I got that going for
alive.
them. Yeah, exactly. So you got to look on the bright side of things. Now, what you probably haven't heard about all of this, particularly mentioned in the mainstream media, is the strikingly different tone Western leftists have taken in regards to the protests in China versus the protests in their own countries.
Well, certainly they're not being hypocritical.
Oh, God, no. No.
Good.
Absolutely.
The one thing I would come to expect from the left is an absolute consistency of views. Like, remember when they hated Comey because, he didn't let Hillary get elected, and then they loved Comey because Trump fired him?
Right. Or my body, my choice. Wait a minute. Are we talking about abortion or vaccines? Because there's a difference. Right? So we have headlines, and let's do the pro headlines first, shall we? And see what the chittering masses on the left, not the left coast, should be the left coast though, because it's it's the wrong way.
Well, the coasts.
Yeah, I may have taken too much cold medicine.
Well, I've heard you take it with a few shots of vodka, you sleep really well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Sometimes is
As well as a Chinese person in a burning apartment building with
that's
COVID.
exactly where I was going.
Yes. So
And
let's see
if I
what.
close my eyes forever.
Absolutely.
Oh, wait.
Then it'll be marked as a COVID death and not having been killed by my government. Yeah. So let's check the headlines. Recently, here we have from the Associated Press, hundreds join U.S. rallies as China cracks down on COVID protests. Expatriates, students, and supporters in the U.S. stage protests in response to Beijing's crackdown on unrest in China. And I want to be clear about this, right? I'm on the side of the Chinese people here. Who I'm not for are the brazen hypocrites who write this bunko crap, right? Beijing has moved swiftly to smother protests across the country as frustration over heavy-handed COVID rules boil over. That's what they call it, heavy-handed.
So that's different than the Australian voluntary leisure camps that have barbed wire fences that people escape from. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
All right,
or the Australians that were miles from any other Australian person who were arrested because they weren't in their homes.
Or the people here in the U.S., the lady in Dallas who opened up her hair salon and was arrested and charged and found guilty. Yeah. Here's the next one from the New York Times. White House weighs how forcefully to support protesters in China. Demonstrations over COVID lockdowns present a challenge for President Biden, because he's the real victim here. He is. Yes. Who has insisted he will call out abuses by authoritarian governments. I mean, he could start with his own, but let's continue. How has the world responded? In recent days, vigils and demonstrations. This is from CNN actually. Demonstrations expressing solidarity with protests in China been held around the world, including the UK, Canada, Australia, the US, and Malaysia. The important part of this is we're watching this closely, as you might expect we would, said U.S. National Security Council Coordinator for Strategic Communications. Wonder how he fits that on a business card. Anyway, John Kirby said this on Monday. We continue to stand up and support the right of peaceful protest. UK Foreign Secretary James Cleverly told reporters the Chinese government should listen to the voices of its own people when they're saying they're not happy with the restrictions imposed upon them.
So you can see, just like Les Miserables.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. So let's flip the calendar back to February 2022, shall we?
Okay. Yeah.
And let's see some headlines from that month. As you might remember, there was a big trucker convoy going on in Canada protesting the COVID vaccine policy for truckers coming into Canada. So here we have the U.S. criticizing China's zero COVID strategy, says Beijing needs to boost vaccination among the elderly. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. This one is from CNBC. This is from last year. Demonstrations have drawn right-wing extremists who are armed in some cases. Many Ottawa residents have been angered by what they say has been harassment and intimidation they faced from truckers on the street. On Monday, Trudeau invoked Canada's Emergencies Act, which gives law enforcement the authority to declare blockades legal, meaning they can tow away trucks. I think that's a typo. It should be illegal. Arrest drivers, suspend their licenses, and freeze their bank accounts. So there were also some GoFundMes for those truckers to help them recoup any costs they would have, because they were going to take their trucks, their livelihoods, right? The government of Canada seized their GoFundMe stuff. And then they were just going to keep that money too, right?
Of course.
Sorry, I had to have a cough break there for a second.
Okay.
Okay.
Is that a coffee break? Sorry.
Continuing on.
Yes.
U.S. offers Homeland Security's help to end Ambassador Bridge blockade and other trucker protests at border. So we were going to send Homeland Security into another country to help them stifle the peaceful protests of the truckers in Canada. All right?
Let me see your papers, please.
Right. And these are all the nice stuff, right? This doesn't even include the stuff that average citizens were saying online. there were people who wanted them to send in the army and start shooting the truckers. I didn't have a lot of time to compile these things, but I did pull one off a popular website. And it says, and this is on the 5th of February, 2022. What's puzzling me is why aren't these trucks on fire? I may be wrong, but I believe on fire is their correct state. These are Canadian American citizens making these comments about their own countrymen. These are the same people now who are rallying behind the Chinese, which again, don't get me wrong, they should be rallied behind. They're doing the right thing here. The government's the bad guy. But you know what? They were the bad guy in this case too.
Well,
and I'm not done. We still have some of those things that you sent me, but if you want to talk now, we can do that.
well, sure. Why don't you bring up the consistency of the leftist position?
Sure. Here it is. These are all sorts of things. If I can get it to make it a little bigger so we can look at it. This is kind of a long one. So we have Chinese government takes stake in TikTok. Grindr sold by its Chinese owner after the U.S. expressed security concerns. TikTok confirms its censored content critical of China. Cross-dressing star banned from Chinese TikTok for vulgar content. Grindr reportedly disappears from app stores in China. Trained Marxist Black Lives Matter co-founder being funded by a group linked to the Chinese Communist Party. BLM founder and pro-communist China group are partnering up, and here's why. Yeah.
But yet they're against them.
I know, right?
Well,
here's more of their hypocrisy. This again, 2 news networks in one brief summary. Europe's loud, rule-breaking, unvaccinated minority are falling out of society. And today, at the heart of China's protests against zero COVID, young people cry for freedom.
Yes. Huh.
Yeah. So China, or not China, by the way, it just seems like China. Canada. Canada has been investigating their, whatever their Congress is called. I can't remember off the top of my head.
It's Parliament, eh?
Yeah, whatever. I'm looped on cold medicine. That's my defense, and I'm sticking to it. Anyway, they've been investigating the Trudeau administration for their actions during the trucker siege, right? And so they've turned up a lot of texts between people to and from each other about what was going on. Now, you've heard a lot of this with the whole January 6th committee, right? And my feeling on that is most of that was, it was fairly, I would say, factually oriented. There was not a lot of BS in those texts, right? It was people talking about the law and what could legally be done. These texts, however, let me see. This is from the Wall Street Journal on their op-ed page today. Let me look here. You can yak a little bit while I look through this article. I didn't have time to pull the stuff out.
So one of the things, I'll let you organize, I've got a little story to share. One of the things about the protests in Canada that was it's already shown up from these hearings. It's been very interesting. At the time of the protest, someone showed up with a flag that is indicative of a party that was
social party,
a very popular party in Germany in 1932, headed by an Austrian painter. I think we all know who I'm talking about.
I think so.
And so there was this bright red flag with a little squiggle in the middle, and it was being flown. Now, the interesting thing about this flag is it still had the creases from being in its being folded up and being in its envelope.
Right.
Brand new flag. In the hearings, they said who was holding the flag. The testimony came back. We cannot divulge that for national security recommendations.
National security reasons.
Because that flag was also being waved from the place where the Canadian Mounties were staying. Okay.
Well, and as opposed to what our government did with the whole Congress, the House of Representatives, with the whole January 6th, I don't know, call it a propaganda piece, whatever you want to do. It certainly was very one-sided. There was no to get to the truth of that. And I think that that's a thing worth looking into. What went on there, what happened, that's a thing worth looking into. But, we're not an authoritarian country. You have to give both sides the opportunity to make their case, right? This seems like maybe what Canada's doing. So Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, this is who we're talking about here, in her testimony described the protest as a crisis and a powder keg. In notes from a February 13th phone call that were introduced into the record, she called the protest a threat to our democracy and to peace, order, and good government. Mr. Trudeau's National Security Intelligence Advisor, Jody Thomas, also characterized the protest as a threat to democracy and the rule of law. It's like they all share the same notes, right?
But Pierre Trudeau, no, Pierre, gosh, that's showing my age.
I know, right?
Justin Trudeau just noted, and the thing is, the only reason I know it was his mother. They were pictures. Anyway, let's put it this way. No, I'll just stop. So Justin Trudeau, when talking about China, said everyone in China should be allowed to protest. We will continue to ensure that China knows we will stand for human rights with the people who are expressing themselves. Exposing themselves would be talking about his mother. Okay.
And he also said this, actually this is Freeland again, I would have preferred not to have had to do this, but in my mind, I weigh that against what I really believe is the tens, hundreds of thousands of Canadian jobs and families we protected. Again, this is all from the Wall Street Journal. Mm-hmm. Mr. Trudeau was emphatic. I'm absolutely serene and confident that I made the right choice. He believes there were threats of serious violence, including weaponization of vehicles, using trucks as potential weapons, the use of children as human shields. And the journal states none of these allegations have been proven. Now, here's where it gets interesting, is that the texts that were flipped back and forth between these people, again, it was just here. It's the cough medicine, I'm telling you.
Well, let's wrap this up because we've gone long on this segment.
Well, this stuff really annoys me, and really it's the hypocrisy of the whole thing too, and the fact that they pivot like this without not a scintilla of cognitive dissonance, or even acknowledging that they held a completely opposite opinion of this less than a year ago.
It is amazingly easy to reprogram NPCs.
Apparently, yeah.
But they'll go from opposing one thing with all of their heart and soul, and then embracing the same thing one day later with no cognitive dissonance. And we can talk all day about NPCs and their reasons this happens. But you know what? I blame the poutine in the water.
Okay, here's what it was I was looking for. These are text messages between Justice Minister David Lametti and Public Safety Minister Marco Mendicino.
Hello?
Yeah, all right. Mr. Lametti asked his cabinet colleague, "How many tanks are you asking for? I just want to ask Anita," referring to Defense Minister Anita Anand. "And how many we've got on hand?" Mr. Mendicino responded, "I reckon one will do." Mr. Lametti testified that these texts were a joke between two friends. These are public officials joking about using the military on their own citizens for doing the exact same thing that they are supporting right now in China. And again, I'm on the Chinese people's side here.
Well,
but I was also on the side of the Canadian people as well.
Okay. We could talk on this topic all day long.
Absolutely.
Let's move it along to turkeys. The president, the president, I'm sorry, it says the president here. I'm sorry. Joe Biden was in Michigan yesterday touting the American economy when this happened.
As I told you, if I had you running in front of me when I was playing flankerback, I could have been an All-American, man. It could have been big. It could have been big.
Flankerback.
Isn't
that a position that they played like back in the 1920s?
More like wankerback.
Right. Well, after he did that, he folded up his helmet, put it in his pocket, and went home.
And I'm sure that
it is actually a real position, though.
It is.
Yeah. It's like the Z receiver. The actual flanker is split wide right and a couple yards back off the line. It's not a slot receiver, not a split end, but it is actually a thing that exists. Usually
And,
referred to as the Z receiver in the NFL.
and actually, I think it is catching up with Biden, because I believe, and this is actually more breaking news, he's not 100% certain he's going to run in the next election. So, there's that.
Well, he could run if he had somebody big blocking for him. And what else makes me laugh about that, right? Because when he talks about that, it's clear. It's clear. Yeah, I know, right? He's big as a tank. But it's clear from that he thinks the flanker is a running back. The flanker is a wide receiver. He didn't even get the definition of the position right. That's okay. I'm sure he learned it when he was first in his class in law school, after being raised by Puerto Ricans in a Jewish neighborhood.
Well, it's time for a slapogram Christmas.
Is it? All right. Let's get to the slapogram Christmas. Is there someone in your life to whom you'd like to deliver a very special message? One that a generic thrift store greeting card just can't convey. Then you need to order the brand new service that's sweeping the nation, the slapogram. That's right. Call us up, and in 3 to 5 business days, that very special person in your life will receive a brisk slap right across the chops. You can even personalize your message. Order today to reserve your personalized holiday slapogram, because nothing says I'm thinking of you this holiday like a brisk slap in the face. Call 1-800-SLAPOGRAM to order yours today.
I wonder if that's a Slap Cop production.
Probably it is. Got some people I would certainly like to order a slapogram for.
You see, and here's where you messed up a commercial. And what about the children? It makes a great gift for them, too.
That's exactly right. Exactly right.
All right. On Monday's episode of The View, the Mensa members on the panel were discussing whether Supreme Court Justice Sandra Day Amy Coney Island O'Barrett should recuse herself from an LGBTQ minus related case the Supreme Court will hear on December 5th, considering she belongs to a Christian group called People Praise. Behar said, and do you have this, or do
I do. Yeah, here it is.
Okay.
Before we get to hot topics, Joy, you want to clarify
yes,
something?
I have to clarify something I said yesterday. I want to correct something I said on air when I stated that People of Praise had been deemed a hate group. I just got them mixed up with another group. It was inaccurate. Okay. So I don't think that's right that I have to say, sorry about that. But anyway, I conflated them.
Okay. Yeah. That happens, it's easy to do.
It's a live show.
Easy to do.
Is it just me, or does Whoopi sound like she's
crocked?
Into the
yeah.
Yeah. Well, given her girth, it'd probably take a few to take her down.
See, you make me laugh, and then I go off. Hang on.
Tara Brayton notes, he caught my LGBTQ minus. And he notes that The View, a.k.a. Dingbat Central.
Absolutely.
Oh, my.
See, I had something for this.
Well.
Hang on. I think we have Justin Trudeau talking about this, if I can find it.
Trudeau?
Yeah, whatever his stupid name is. Oh, here he is.
I will never apologize for standing up for an LGBTQ2 plus.
I hate speech. Can't get it right.
So, the city of San Francisco. Oh, I have more San Francisco beyond this, and in fact, mine. Let's skip the bit until after my first San Francisco story. The city of San Francisco has launched a new universal income program, kind of like Universal Soldier, which we'll come back to. But you have to be transgender to get any of that sweet, sweet tax money. Said Mayor London Breed, we know our trans communities experience much higher rates of poverty and discrimination. So this program will target, support, or lift individuals in this community up. We will keep building on programs like these to provide to these the greatest need with the financial resources and services to help them thrive. We must get to the chopper. Do you have the application form?
I do have the application form. Unfortunately,
Wonderful.
I don't have an image of it, but we can
Oh.
just go through it. Yeah, I know. I didn't quite get to that. But I got to everything else, almost. Okay, so and you can actually find this. It is on giftincome.org, so you can go and take a look for it yourself. It is actually there. This is a thing that exists. I am not making this up. This is not a bit. So we start out with our general information, name, legal name on ID if different. Okay, so there we go. All the basic stuff, date of birth, blah, 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 blah. All that stuff that people want to steal from you when they steal your identity. Which one are they getting? Income. Check all income sources that apply to you. And this is what I find interesting. First of all, employment. Sure. Next, cash economy work. We couldn't actually put on the form, are you a drug dealer?
Oh, there's other cash economy work. It means you're a whore.
That too.
A
Right.
dirty whore.
Then unemployment. Supplemental
Mark may
security
not talk to us
income.
next week.
I know. Social state disability insurance. CalWorks, County Adult Assistant Program, Cash Assisted Link to Medi-Cal, Cash Assistance Program for Immigrants, Refugee Cash Assistance, Student Financial Aid, or not listed. Only one of those is an actual job.
Oh, my.
Yeah. So then we have check any non-cash assistance program you're currently enrolled in, including Medi-Cal, Medicare, Healthy San Francisco, CalFresh, food stamps, or not listed. Then we have proof of income. How do they get the proof of income from, your cash gig?
Well, maybe you got to perform for them. This is California we're talking about.
This kind of goes back to our application for getting a podcast license, doesn't it? You're willing to date an FBI agent? But I assure you, this is actually real. Okay, so include proof of your residence, such as lease, mail, utility bill, or homeless verification letter. Yes, they have homeless verification letters in California.
All right. Well,
next we have. Oh no, we're just getting to the good part, man.
Well, they get to skip to the good part.
Well, because we're here right now. This is good. This is good. It's worth going over.
Right,
Trans status, transgender, non-binary, gender conforming, non-conforming. Sorry, intersex, or none of the above. Now we get to the first fun one. Pronouns. Check all that apply. Here are our choices: she, her, hers; he, him, his; they, them, theirs; it, its; co's; ze, zim, zis; ze, here, hers; hem, hers; I, am, heirs; heirs; pers; fe, fairs; airs; te, ters; vi, vis; no pronouns, just name, or declined, or not listed, if that's not enough for you. So there's the first one. Here's the next one. Gender identity. Check all that apply. Cisgender woman. Woman. Transgender woman. What are the difference between those first two?
Tab rate notes proof of no income. Play your pockets inside out while playing the set or meme on your smartphone.
There you go. Woman of trans experience. Woman of history of gender transition. Trans feminine. Feminine of center. MTF, male to female. Demigirl, T-girl, trans girl, sister girl. Those are all the female categories. Cisgender man, transgender man. Man of trans experience, man with a history of gender transition. Transmasculine, masculine of center. F to M, female to male. Demiboy, T-boy, trans guy, brother boy, transgender, transsexual. Non-binary. We're just getting to the good stuff, man.
No, you've gone on far enough.
No. We are really getting to the good stuff. You've gotten the ones you've all heard before.
No, I don't need to hear any more of this.
Xenogender, Femi, and this is not a government form. Femi with an E on the end. Butch, boy, B-O-I, stud. Come on, you totally would identify as that, right? Aggressive, androgyne, tomboy, gender outlaw, gender nonconforming, gender variant, gender fluid.
Okay.
Gender word I can't say on the podcast.
We've heard enough.
But it goes on. It goes on a whole nother page.
I don't want to hear the ones we've heard before. Um, this is, again, this is what happens when the world goes off the rail.
That
And
part of it is longer than the which best describes your race category. Oh, here's a good one too. Housing status. Currently not homeless, but at risk of homelessness. Currently not homeless. Homeless in the last 12 months. Living in a car or van, living in a shelter, living with friends or family, but
I
not
understand.
paying rent.
I understand this falls entirely under the category. You got to post a link to this on our,
Okay,
because
all right.
this is too long to go into. But this goes into the not the Babylon Bee. I mean, this is what the Babylon Bee would have written 3 years ago, and now they've taken it there.
It's 9 pages long.
I'm going to skip ahead.
No, wait. 10.
I'm going to skip ahead to News of the Future today.
Okay.
We ought to have that as a new feature. News of the Future today.
And let me get right on that as soon as I feel like I'm not going to die today.
Okay, San Francisco is going to authorize robot dogs to use deadly force. You did not hear that incorrectly.
Excuse me, robot dogs?
Yes, San Francisco is going to authorize robot dogs to use deadly force against people. And this is, I don't know how this helps with, can the robot dogs put out the fire when the police department catches on fire for no reason at all? I mean, this is insanity. This is just insanity. Where's the TED Talk when you need one?
I was not planned for that. Okay, say it again.
Where's the TED Talk when you need one?
Stupid Wi-Fi never works.
Yeah, that's right. It's a Ted Kaczynski talk.
Yep, it's your Ted Kaczynski talk. And I would not think that the Wi-Fi was very good in that cabin that he had.
I would imagine he bitched about it all the time. Yeah, stupid Wi-Fi. You know what? I'm just going to send this in the mail.
Well, we have more news of the future today.
No, I had one more comment on the robot dog story.
Okay.
There's going to be a run on sales on squeaky toys.
That's right. All right. So let's we'll get to the additional news of the future in just a few minutes. The railroad strike. The Democrats voted to say "suck it, unions," and including AOC, Rashida Tlaib, and Ilhan Omar. So they all said, "Hey, unions, you're going to go back to work, and just because we say we are, because we're the man." And I just think it's actually relatively hilarious because actually I'm incredibly sympathetic to what the railroad workers are looking for, and I think there's going to be a problem because the management of the railroads actually said this. They said labor does not contribute to profits.
Well, and here's another thing that Joe said about this too when he was speaking to the unions. You know what the unions did? They built the middle class. Yes, unions built the middle class. That was the Black Death.
Okay. So the next item, like a divorce, women get half the money for work they didn't do. The U.S. women's soccer team scores half the cash from the men winning that match against Iraq.
Oh, shuck it, duck it now.
That's what the women say.
Yep.
Shuck it, duck it.
So they came to an agreement because the women were upset because no one watches Women's World Cup soccer. I almost called it the F word because, that's what... Anyway, no one watches Women's World Cup soccer at all. But Men's World Cup soccer outside of the United States is apparently incredibly popular. And so for just winning this one game, the Men's World Cup team won $6 million, $3 million of which goes to the women. Yep. So Fair or not fair, the missus?
Well, I mean, it's soccer, so it's communist anyway, right? So yeah, I think it's absolutely fair.
Well, we know how soccer showed up. It was a game that European ladies played while their men did the dishes.
That's right. Keep
How's
them
my
busy
Hank
while their men did the dishes. Yeah.
That's right. Uh, let's go to Kiev or
Oh, let's
Kyiv.
not.
Protesters in Kyiv are demanding that the lights be turned back on. I don't know how you can demand that the light be turned back on when the power plant's been blown up by a missile. But
Well, everyone knows that the electricity comes out of the wall.
that's right.
Someone has to turn the switch, and then it's there.
So they're protesting it. The high temperature in Kiev this week will be 33 degrees Fahrenheit, and the lows are in the teens most of the nights. So it's going to be pretty chilly in Kiev and in Ukraine.
But they do live in the Ukraine. I mean, they're used to having cold winters. They've got coats and stuff. It's not like last winter when Houston hit those temperatures, and people don't own coats in Houston. I mean, they do, but they wear them when it's like 60 degrees outside.
Yeah, they really do.
Right.
When we lived down there, it was hilarious watching it. It's 50 degrees and it's not even coat weather, and people are they have furs on.
Yeah, like parkas and stuff. Yeah.
Yep. Let's see. 30% of weapons are not making it to the troops in the Ukraine, which means that only 30% of weapons are making it to the troops in Ukraine, which means that 70% of those weapons are going somewhere else. And yeah, well, they're being sold, but
to who? Right?
Yes. Yeah. For you.
No, Rand Paul, you shut up. We don't need to look into that.
For you, Crazy Zelensky.
What are you, some kind of Russian traitor?
Crazy Zelensky has HIMARS rockets on sale. Only $99.99. We did a commercial on that. It was pretty good.
We did.
Ukraine will be turned into friend zones. I'm not making this up either. That other countries will be responsible for fixing up. Zelensky has said that he needs at least $1 trillion, and he's going to carve Ukraine up into little bits. And so, Lithuania, you're responsible for fixing up this part of Ukraine.
Plus, he has a lot of vacations to New York planned, and he wouldn't, he needs somebody to finance those, for God's sakes.
Well, keep in mind,
it's expensive.
He also owns
have you seen how expensive things are in America today?
Zelensky also owns a multi-million-dollar mansion in Florida, so he can chum up with his friends out here. I have been told I need a little more volume. Let me know if this is better.
Helps when you sit closer to the mic.
Yes, Antifa declares Elon Musk
hear me?
a fascist and will pull drivers out of Tesla cars. My question there: will they be charged? Get it? Tesla cars.
See, I scrolled down. I wasn't ready.
Okay. More news of the future today. News of the future today.
Hang on.
Elon.
I do actually have a thing for this.
Oh.
Days into the future.
So Elon Musk is
lovely, isn't it?
Yes, Elon been working on Elon Musk has been working.
Elon Work has been musking. I don't know if I want to see that happen.
On a project called Neuralace. And the idea is you put a net over the human brain and it hooks you directly into the web.
Isn't that kind of what they always talked about that Data had on Star Trek TNG?
Yes.
His neural net, which really just kind of looked like a net over his brain.
So
Elon's a genius.
Yeah, so this is his idea so that the internet doesn't take over us, is we take over the internet by putting our brains into it. I'm not making this up. So apparently in his quest to make this Neuralace project work, over 3,000 monkeys have been made no longer monkey in the process. So my question here is, who's in the wrong? Who's in the wrong there?
I would say Anthony Fauci.
Anthony Fauci. Those beagles had it coming.
I represent science.
All right. Alberta Sovereignty Act That is apparently in the process of being passed, and this is Alberta, Canada. If this passes, Alberta can ignore Trudeau.
I will never apologize for standing up for an LGBTQ2 plus.
So, and in fact, Alberta will essentially be its own sovereign nation if this act passes and they begin enforcing it. They can ignore the rest of the Canadian law. And so I'm saying, good job,
That sounds like fun.
Alberta. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So my question then, what will Trudeau dress like when he visits Alberta?
I don't know. My question is, who has to take Trudeau? I don't want him. You take him. I don't want him either. One of us has to take him.
Maybe he needs a slapogram.
I
All
think
right.
probably he does.
The clap of my ass cheeks keeps alerting the guards.
All right. I've only got one more story. Hawaii's big volcano has been erupting. And so my question yes, lava spurting forward. Thrusting towards the sky.
Oh my.
Anyway, my question is this. Is the surf finally up in Hawaii?
I have no response to that.
But there is
That's an
good news.
ocean question. You know, we did live very close to the ocean for a couple years, but I think we went there approximately twice, once per year that we lived there.
Yes, that's true.
But yeah, I'm kind of a landlocked person here in the U.S., and I'm like, the ocean, it's very strange, and it frightens me. I know nothing of it. My people, we are the Flatlanders. Yeah.
And we are hill people. You
Yeah.
Flatlanders are dirty, awful people.
Exactly.
Oh, wait. All right. So I think.
Well, it's easy for the hill people to kill us because they just roll the big rocks down the hill.
Mm-hmm. Did you have anything to add? Anything to bring up
No.
on this lovely Wednesday evening?
I think.
All right. All right. From deep beneath the center of the earth, on the last day of November 2022, this has been Bombs and Bants and Wednesday Rants. I'm John.
I'm Mark, even though I'm not really here. And I'm the missus.
And Jim Wetzel says you're the star. Good night, folks. Take care.
Yeah, I'll come back now, you hear?